Is this legal?
I'm not legally provided to give you the full name. I'll just leave it at the last name, bro.
Do you have an ID?
I do.
You mind if I see it?
I do.
You don't give me your ID or your full name, I'm going to arrest you for failure to ID.
I'm a law student. The calls are not reasonable, articulate suspicion to suspect me of a crime.
Put your hands on the car. You already failed to identify yourself.
So is that legal? Well, if we're in Texas, there's a law called failure to identify. And the question here is to whether it's legal or not. It depends on whether he was driving that car and this was a traffic stop, because there's two ways under Texas law where you can get arrested for failure to ID. One is if you're already under arrest, and that's what it looks like he's arguing there. And then the other is if you are driving and you have been pulled over, you're not under arrest, but you're being detained. And in Texas, an officer can demand that you produce your identification, your name, address, things like that, even if you're not under arrest yet. And if you don't do it, it's a Class B misdemeanor. Go ahead.
Yeah. And in the video, he says something about calls and reasonable suspicion. He even uses the word like articulate. Maybe it's a situation where he's just sitting in a vehicle, in a parked vehicle. It looks like it's nighttime, so maybe somebody called 911 on him. What is he getting to when he's talking about like reasonable suspicion and phone calls and stuff like that?
Yeah, so there are a lot of cases where an officer will go out to a car that's maybe in a cul-de-sac or behind a building or something like this, and someone has called in and said this is a suspicious vehicle, but they haven't really said that there was a particular crime being committed. And there's two cases that are important for that. There's Garcia Cantu versus State, which is actually a case out of Montgomery County. And the officers pulled up and immediately turned their red and blue lights on and detained this individual in a cul-de-sac, even though there wasn't any real description of some crime that was occurring. And so the Court of Criminal Appeals ended up dismissing that case and finding that it was an illegal stop. There was nothing particularized saying that a crime was afoot. The other important case on that would be Dershweiler versus State, where someone was seen basically smiling at somebody, but they said that because of the area that they were in, because of the strange behavior that they linked to the person, the smiling at the stranger, they decided that that was reasonable suspicion. I think that's an extreme case, but courts are going to look at this kind of stuff and say, did they have something that they can say this person did wrong? If they don't, and the officer is detaining like they are in this instance, then that's going to be a legal detention. Any evidence they collect after that is going to be thrown out.
So for this guy in the video, if he, let's just say when the officers roll up, he's standing outside of his vehicle and the cops walk up to him and say, "What's your name?" It sounds like, at least based on the statute for Texas law, he's not obligated to just give his name.
No, if you haven't just been pulled over for a traffic stop and you're not under arrest, you don't have to say anything to a police officer. You can turn around, walk away. You can always ask an officer, am I free to leave? If they say yes, you can turn around and walk away. But if an officer says you're not free to leave and tell me your name, as long as you're not under arrest and you're not being detained from a traffic stop in a vehicle, then you don't have to say anything.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like there's a lot of videos where people who are communicating with law enforcement, they'll say, "I know the law," or "You're not doing this properly." Most of the time they end up being wrong, but it sounds like, depending on what happened before the video turned on, this guy may actually have been right.
Yeah. And if I was giving advice to somebody in this situation, assuming there's nothing else in the vehicle or anything like that, I would just give the officer my ID card, and he's probably going to leave and be gone. Maybe tell you to leave, maybe do so illegally. But it's sure as heck beats going to the jail for the hours you'll be in there, bonding out, and then hiring one of us. So whenever you're talking with law enforcement, try to be as respectful as you could possibly be. But yeah, if you have not been arrested, if you have not been detained on a traffic stop, there's no requirement to give your name, address, things like that to an officer.
All right. Well, if you like this video, feel free to put a like on it and follow our channel for more discussions like this.
Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Remember, all these videos are for educational purposes, and we'll see you next time.